I thought it was it was very inspiring. It was very good. It got you into a greater depth than you typically, or I typically do. For me personally, I mean, this would have to be something that I would have to commit myself to dedicate to that. Okay, once a week I am going to use this, and this is, and this is just basically our life. I mean, we go, and it's not that we're necessarily going, we're doing.
Yeah.
The discipline of stopping, being still, and utilizing that still time, to me, would be something I'm really going to have to commit to.
You don't do it lightly.
I loved it.
Oh, good. I'm glad. And I liked it too. I mean, I've done it a few times before, but I haven't committed as much time nearly. I mean, and Katie and I were talking about doing these videos. I'm like, oh yeah, Lectio Divina. I haven't thought about that in years, unfortunately, and I should be doing it.
Right.
Be committed to having it a part of my life because it is very fruitful. But it's not the only way to read. I read in many other ways, as far as doing more intense idea of study, looking at language or looking at culture, reading commentaries, that kind of stuff. But there's more to it than that, and there should be more to it than that. But I don't want to forget. So, but yeah, for those doing it at home, this is not something to be taken lightly. You gotta. It's going to take some effort, but it's like many things that take effort. It's more the effort, the more reward. You do have to try maybe a little bit harder to do it. But it can reap rewards maybe that you haven't seen before.
I think there's a part of this that makes me think of, I mean, you're going to have to be real self-reflective and be able to be honest with yourself.
That's
to
not
do
easy
a
to do.
really good self-assessment, for it to be like, what is God saying to me? You're going to have to realize maybe where your weaknesses are, where your failures are, be willing to see those in yourself and open up to what is God saying to me. And some people, that's easier said than done. Probably most of us. But for some people, that's really, really difficult. So I think that'd be a really cool part to just get down in there and break it down and make you really reflect on how am I doing this and what does God really want me to do instead, and be willing to change maybe if that's what it's being asked of you.
This is all about authenticity, and we're used to walls and masks and we need it.
We have a really hard time being real with each other and with ourselves a lot. We can really make ourselves believe something that about us that is not really what it is, and for sure what it should be.
Yeah.
To me, the key through the whole thing, kind of like what Gloria alluded to in the very first video, like about quiet time at camp and how important that is, just taking the time to be still and get your mind right before you start. Like if you just rush into it and you're like, oh, I've only got 10 minutes, let me read this passage 3 times and think about it, you're not going to get anything from it. You've got to get your mind right. You've got to take the time to kind of center your thoughts and then go into it. So I think that's kind of the most important step of the entire process.
I think you're right.
I wanted to add one thing. I mean, my thought process, and we should take it more serious than rushing through it, reading it 2 or 3 times. And this is a good practice. My life, I want God the Father, I want to please Him. Therefore, if I'm doing something that may be a sin, or fixing to do something that may be a sin, I back away from that. I'm like, that's not going to please the Father. And with that mindset, read His Word and see. Let's see what I can get out of this. Make sure that I'm being right, that I'm doing what's right, and will please the Father.
Mm-hmm.
You see where my mind, where my thoughts are going there?
Yeah.
So,
Like the last parable we just read, and the
right.
son's pleasing the Father.
I don't want to tell him to not do it. I don't want to say I'll do it and not do it. I want to, and that's how we mature. That's how we please God.
Yeah,
Stay.
and that's Lectio Divina as far as this divine reading, this reading that we want to be pulled into the presence of the divine, because we want to get out of Scripture what God has put there for us. That way we are pleasing Him in this moment, but also then taking it and pleasing Him after the fact, and not just reading it and saying, well, God, I read my 20 minutes today, I read my 5, whatever it is, check, you're good, I'm good, I'll see you tomorrow kind of a thing. It's, let the time you spend with Him be rich and meaningful. Yeah. Now, me too, goodness.
Leads into even saying prayer. We all know when someone gets up there and they lead a prayer that comes from the marrow that we talked about. There, it. And I've had it happen before, and I just was like, oh, don't stop praying. Just don't stop. It was just like, so you knew where that prayer was coming from.
Yeah.
Versus, and I think that's what this kind of study gets you down into the depths of like that versus, I'll lead a prayer.
God, thank you for this food.
It's
Let's
deep
eat.
and not superficial. Most of the time we're pretty superficial. This makes you go deeper though.
Well, if you had to pick one aspect of maybe the process, the 4 steps or whatever, I guess Hunter maybe already answered this as far as you know. You can answer again. What part worked the best for you as far as getting you into a place that was deeper, richer, more meaningful?
For me, I just liked the questions.
Okay.
What did God say? What's He saying to me? What's He want from me? I mean, when you take something like that and then actually apply those questions and stop and be still and ask that question and really answer it, was effective.
Yeah, I've done some Lectio Divina several years ago, like I said, and then I kind of forgot about it, but when I was researching it again to get ready for this workshop class thing we're having, I watched several videos, and again, there are quite a few Catholic priests talking about it because it's the Latin term and everything. It's usually a Catholic heritage, but I don't want them to get the good stuff. Let us do some of it too, because this is good stuff. But each one would do the Latin term, the Lectio, the Meditatio, the Oratio, and the whatever Contemplatio, and then they would give these big long answers. But the one guy I found, they're like, "Ooh, that's good." Just gave those 4 questions. He's like, he made it more practical and more doable. As far as if the idea is too generic or abstract, it gets to be a challenge. But I stole those questions. I stole a lot of this material, but I stole it from. He's a Catholic priest or whatever, but he broke it down into just ask these questions, and that's your starting point, your jumping off point for these 4 processes. And maybe he didn't get as deep as some of the other guys, but I'm like, oh, that's usable. And that's what we need, is a usable tool. And so I like the questions too, Gloria. Yeah. Who else? What was your favorite part of it, maybe?
Well, what I spend a lot of time thinking about how we can assess, and it always surprises me, we can assess each other or assess other people
we're a terrible judge of our own selves.
Mhm.
You would think we could see ourselves very clearly, but we see it's exactly the opposite. You know, it's I hate that. I wish that we could read ourselves and we could do better. We could improve easier. It's so painful sometimes because we can't see ourselves like other people can.
Yeah.
And wish we could.
Well, something like this maybe
It
is
will make you.
it helps push you on that path. Yeah.
Mine's along that line. I like the meditation part, like what is God saying to me in this process of reading? What is he telling me about myself that I need to look at? Like you're saying, the speck in my eye, what is that?
Yeah.
And what can I do? And then the contemplation part, what is he asking me to do? Those are the things that I enjoy is trying to reflect on and help me improve myself to be the better version of what God would want me to be.
Is there anything that maybe didn't work? Maybe a least favorite point of it all, or something that could be tweaked a little bit? Or
Real quick, going back to the last one. I know I talked about being still, but on the Psalms one specifically, I really liked being able to pray that, and like just being able to spend some time praying that song. Like it doesn't work as well with the parable, but the psalm, just the way it was written, it worked really well to kind of pray that, like put it into like a more personal thing and pray through that like for myself. And I thought that was cool.
good. Yeah, I like that too. And next month, if we do this again, we might do some training of the Psalms.
Yeah.
Because that's all kind of its own discipline, kind of like Lectio Divina. That's its own thing. Awesome. Anything weren't crazy about, or like you think you might need? Well, if I'm going to do that on my own, I'm going to need to adjust that or tweak it a little. Or
That might be a better question after we do it a little bit.
come back and tell me after the fact. Yeah,
If we commit to doing it a few times.
yeah.
Does the workbook come with this?
Yeah.
I'll write down these 4 words.
Yeah.
Well, whenever you think about doing it, and maybe committing to doing it, and again, once a week, I think is a great practice. I mean, it started with the monks who were up in their monasteries not talking, so they did several times a day. I don't know that that's the kind of life God's calling us to per se, or all of us at least, because there's a lot of doing that needs to be done, obviously, as some of his parables point out. But when we do, all right, I'm going to stop, I'm going to do it, and you think about what scripture am I going to use? Use some scriptures you already love, and maybe try to go deeper with them. But I would say also be open to using a scripture that you don't know as well or even bothers you. Like if there's a portion of scripture that you struggle with, this is a good way to struggle. One thing that I've mentioned to KT a few times is some of the Psalms, there's some rough Psalms, oh my goodness. There's some about God smash the babies of our enemies up on the rocks, and I mean just stuff that turns your stomach or sends chills up my spine. What do I do with that? Well, rather than avoid it, which is kind of what we tend to do, it's like, man, I'm not going to preach a sermon on that one. I mean, as preachers, we can be pretty picky and choosy. We pick the really good stuff that sounds good and ignore some of the other. And I try not to do that, but it's kind of natural to want to focus on the stuff that resonates more easily or connects. But if there's a passage of scripture that, maybe, let's say you have your nighttime schedule, you read for 10 minutes, before bed, or maybe first thing you wake up, which is what KT does, and, just reading. And if something just jumps out at you, like, man, I don't like that. Well, then that might be the exact thing you need to go back and do this way. Spend 30 minutes or more. And they say a lot about 30 minutes for Lectio Divina to do it right. You don't have to set a timer or whatever, but don't be rushed. And just in a small passage of scripture, the bigger the passage of scripture, the longer it takes. But, just like we did tonight, a few verses, 5-10 verses, 30 minutes is not a bad mark to just block out. But if it's rough, if it's challenging, if it's something that Jesus said maybe, or something that's always bothered you a little, all the more reason to dive into it. It's kind of dangerous. It's not comfortable. It will involve digging deep, but it's kind of what God calls us to. So
I think when selecting, it's important to get like a complete thought though.
yes, don't just pick one verse out of context.
You take a complete thought.
Do a whole parable, a whole story, a whole psalm, and all of Psalm 119 might be a little tough, but it's actually broken down into Psalm 119 is broken down into 24 sections itself. But there are different ways you can do it, and find your own rhythm, find your own pace. That's the next one. Is don't wear yourself out, don't beat yourself up. This is not meant to be all no. Colby said I got to do Lectio Divina now. There's one more thing to add to the pile. That's not the case. Use it to slow yourself down, to take away some of the pile, to kind of more meaningfully get out of your time in Scripture more than what you are accustomed to, maybe.
I think there are pieces of it that can be applied to your everyday Scripture reading, though, like the meditating on it and stuff afterwards. That's things that you should be doing anyways.
Yeah. And naturally happens. You think about it for a while.
I think it gets kind of left off just in our busy lives and stuff. I think we finish reading, we close our Bibles, and we go do the next thing. I think that's something that's important just to remember. And that's something you can apply to your everyday reading.
Without doing all 4 steps, yeah.
Right.
But by doing it this way, I can see it being meditated on more than just that point. It's just like working on a tractor, Carlton, and you run into a problem, and you can't quite get your mind around it. I mean, this is me. I mean, Carlton probably got it all figured out. But if you got that on your mind when you go to bed, you lay there before you go to sleep and you think about that. And you know what I'm saying? You follow me? I'm thinking about that. And I may have a dream. I may have something that, like, well, this is what God's telling me. And you wake up. And I used to write stuff down or draw pictures when I woke up with a problem, a mechanical problem or something I was working on. But I can see it.
God doesn't operate on our time schedule by any means. He does sometimes, though, say, you be still and just be patient.
That doesn't contain God.
Yeah. There's a concrete issue that if I had thought about a few more nights, it might have turned out a little bit better.
Right.
That's your concrete issue.
But no, I mean, you're right. Don't just blow past it and leave it behind. It's like, let it sit with you. Let it be a part of your, I like this term, the cadence of your life. Scripture has a cadence. Your life has a cadence. It's got a tempo. It's got a rhythm that we kind of fall into. And let this find its natural place. Don't just shove it on top or impose it. Just let it kind of naturally come in and enjoy it, embrace it, savor those flavors like we talked about at the beginning. And just don't let it be a burden, but let it be a blessing, I guess, is what I hope it is for you. And use all your tools. Again, don't stop doing other Bible reading, maybe habits you formed over time, and hopefully you formed some. And I know some ebb and flow, maybe better for a while, then they kind of dip off if it's crazy time or whatever. But you've got a lot of tools in your tool belt. This is one. I think it's a good one. I think it's a really cool one that I enjoy, but don't let it be the only thing you do, and let God's Word connect with you on lots of different levels. One of your tools is each other.
And how to use it.
Yeah. And it's actually, I've known some really crazy guys. My grandfather was one. And he stopped going to church eventually because he got mad at everybody and it was all their fault. And he had some flaws. Sometimes I look in the mirror and I see him and I don't like what I see. Sometimes if I see certain aspects of my grandfather shining, looking back at me, and sometimes I do. But he had stopped going to church but he loved reading his Bible. And that's a good thing. But he loved getting commentaries and studying, and he got pretty deep. He was an amateur scholar, I guess you could say. But he got some crazy ideas. Like Grandpa. I mean, he would. Well, me and my brother, we both turned out to be preachers, but while we were going to preaching school, just like, you think what? How did you? He connected the dominoes or so in very strange ways. And I've known other people that did the same thing. And it's usually because they're not with other people. Like, the people around you can keep you from going, like, well, God told me to kill her. Like, well, no, if we're around other church people, let's say, wait, don't think that was God. Let's talk about this for a second. Let's, if you have an idea or a struggle, whatever, it's actually one of the things that God put us together for is so that we can process Scripture as community and not just come up with crazy theories and run off with them. And it's a checks and balances kind of thing. It's like we are each other's checks and balances. So, using Lectio Divina on your own is great, but it's good to do it together, and it's good to couple with the other types of studies we do together. The stupid COVID stuff has put a hitch in all that, but maybe we should look for ways to keep improving that and not just kind of. I don't want any of it to be a rut. Sunday morning Bible classes, I don't want to be a rut. I want it rather to be a tool that we use to help each other, to balance each other out, to kind of pull in the strays on the edge and like, oh, don't go there. Let's remember, like, let's keep going to Jesus. If you don't interpret something through Jesus, don't stop yet. Keep going until you can line it up with the character, the life, the teachings, the love, the sacrifice of Jesus himself. And then, that's a good hermeneutic tool to use. I threw in that word.
I'm going to have to define that on the screen. Hermeneutic.
And again, as we finish up, let the Scripture improve you. Don't just read Scripture, let Scripture read you, which we talked a lot about tonight. And because it's powerful, and one of my favorite verses is John 6:68. And I'm going to read it for you. John chapter 6, we used it at the beginning, talking about drink my blood, eat my flesh. And a lot of people walked away. And Jesus turns around when people start walking away. And if Jesus had a bad day, this might have been it. Well, other than the cross, of course. But as far as just a temperament that you see, he didn't sin, but there's some frustration here in John chapter 6. He sees the people walking away. He turns to his 12 apostles, who are there as well, and asks somewhat aggressively, it sounds like to me, you don't want to go away too, do you? You guys going to leave as well? I mean, that's kind of an aggressive question. But Peter's response. I mean, Peter's stuck his foot in his mouth a lot, but sometimes he gave a beautiful response. Here's a beautiful response. Where would we go? You got the words of life. And it's like, sometimes the Bible can be challenging. Goodness. In some ways it's supposed to be, because it's supposed to change us. And it is a challenge. And so, but what are you going to do? Close it? Absolutely not. It's the words of life. Dig deeper. Go deeper. So, and as a minister, as a church family, we want to give you the tools to do that and for us to healthily do that together. So, thanks for being here. Let's close with a prayer. Father, thank you for making us your people. Thank you for speaking to us in your word. And Father, not giving up on us, but continuing to hammer away at our hearts with the truths and the beauty of Scripture. And Father, as your people, we want to open up wide to that influence of you in our life. Not just talk occasionally about, I need to read my Bible more, Father, but or I need to study more. Things I do. Let me embrace the beauty of your word and fall in love with it like so many of the psalmists. I wanted honey on their lips. Father, thank you for the honey you've given us tonight. Help us to crave more. Bless those that took part, and bless those that will watch online. And Father, bless any who come to your word to find you. And pray that you always meet us there. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
We really hope that you've enjoyed this series on Lectio Divina. We know that this has been a blessing to those of us who helped put it together, and we really hope that you were able to get something great out of it. I want to challenge you. Make this a personal project to incorporate Lectio Divina into your time with God. Make it something that you do, maybe not every single day, but at least maybe once a week or even once a month. We'd love to hear how you are incorporating Lectio Divina into your spiritual practices that you do on a regular basis. You can always get in touch with us on our website at winnsboro.church or here on YouTube in the comment section below. Also, we'd love for you to start joining us either online or in person for our Sunday morning worship. This week we will be wrapping up the series Jesus and. We'd hope for you to join us on Sundays, either online or in person, and also in person on Wednesdays for our midweek services at 6:30. Hope to see you soon.